For me, it's about being aware. It's about being conscious of the impact that I am having as an individual within the community.
We have to stop thinking so much about those people over there who have to reframe the message about global sustainability for us and start thinking about how we can reframe ourselves.
And now scientists say that the hole in the ozone layer will recover by the end of the century.
I realized that through using plastic, it wasn't just so easy to go to a store and find solutions. I actually had to make lots of changes in my life, and through doing that, I learned how to make a lot and now almost all of my own beauty products. I learned how to shop without making any plastic waste or without any packaging at all, and a whole slew of other things to help me live a zero-waste lifestyle, which I live now. So the jar that you see behind me, kind of sticking out of my head, is again all of the trash that I have not been able to keep out of landfill over the past 5 and almost 6 years.
According to the UN, should the global population reach 9.6 billion by 2050, the equivalent of almost 3 planets could be required to provide the natural resources needed to sustain current lifestyles. This alarming figure, along with several others, has caused the UN to promote greater education to consumers on sustainable consumption and lifestyles. How can our generation help to bring about this change in the near future, and why should this be a priority? My name is Megha S, and I'm a student here at ISL. I will be your moderator for this discussion on sustainable lifestyles, and I would like to begin by welcoming you all to what I know will be an insightful evaluation of the alternate sustainable lifestyle and why this is a modern issue worthy of discussion in 2019. The Youth Forum Switzerland is honored to welcome our panelists, each of whom is an expert in their field. Our time together today is short, and so our discussion will be divided between a moderated discussion with our panelists and an open question and answer session with you, the audience. I'm joined here today by Rosanne Meer to my left, who is a designer and founder of the first 3D knitwear brand in the world, The Girl and the Machine. She's helping us work towards a more sustainable clothing industry. Beside her is Landwehr, and Landwehr is the current marketing manager at My Climate. My Climate aims to shape the future together with you through consulting services, education, and climate protection projects. Beside him is Johnston, who is the executive founder of C&A. She led the development of the Foundation's first global vision, mission, and strategy anchored on making fashion a force for good. To her left is Carolyn, who is the co-founder of The Whale Company. The Whale Company works with schools and corporations to promote connection to nature, encouraging the emergence of innovative solutions for a more sustainable world. Finally, on my far left, we have Andreas Handke. Andy is a Swiss chef and entrepreneur, and today he runs more than one of his own restaurants, focusing on locally sourced ingredients. Andy also teaches young chefs at the Culinary College in Zurich and holds workshops about food waste. So if you could all help me in welcoming our panelists. Now we will begin our panel discussion. To begin, I would like to ask each panelist personally what they believe it means to live a sustainable lifestyle and why this is so important. So maybe if we start with Andy and work our way across.
Hello everybody, thanks for being here. For me as a chef, food is life, food is everything. And we know all about the industries and how food can be sourced or not be sourced. And we know also that for me food is like everything, as the food is life. And we cannot squeeze the lemon more. So there's just one lemon, one planet. So how do we continue for the following generations that also they can have the lemon taste? So there are a lot of options, a lot of solutions around this sustainability, and with food it's very easy to accomplish.
Okay, hello everybody. I think my area is really surrounding plastic. What you may not have understood from the introduction is that we build stand-up paddleboards out of plastic bottles, and we have paddled marathons across Europe. Last year we paddled the whole length of the River Thames, to try and get people to think about what they can do individually, because I think living a sustainable life is really about taking responsibility for your own actions. There's so much, we live in a society that dictates how we should live, and sometimes it's very difficult to make those changes, but being conscious and starting to make those little steps yourself, you can make a really big difference. So for me, living a sustainable life is partly about making choices, everyday choices that can have a greater impact.
And hi everyone, you heard about food, you heard about plastic. I want to talk about fashion, which actually has a lot to do with both of those. And for me, living a sustainable life is being able to make choices around the clothes that we wear. Fashion is something that we all share. Hopefully most of you wear clothes most days. If you don't, you'd be very cold in this climate. But it's something that actually has a big impact in the world. Fashion is a big industry. It's about $2.5 trillion. It's a very thirsty industry. Every t-shirt you wear uses about 2,700 liters of water. That's actually about 2.5 years worth of water for each of us. And it's actually an industry that can be exploitative as well. You're probably aware of the Rana Plaza disaster that happened in 2013. There's lots and lots of issues around child labor, bonded labor in this industry. So it's an industry that we as consumers can impact by the choices we make. So for me, it's actually important to know when you want to buy something that you love, to buy something that you know not only is good for you from a sustainability perspective, but also is good for the earth and the people who made it.
Hello everybody. So yeah, for me it's quite an easy task right now, because if you force people here to say something, then it makes it easy, because you have literally said everything I wanted to say. So the thing is, yeah, you heard about it, it could be about fashion, it can be about food, it's about plastic, it's surely about transportation, individual mobility. So we as a climate protection organization of my kind, we try to focus on all these areas. But the most important thing, and that's said before, it's about choices. Each and everyone makes hundreds of choices each and every day. And you have to try to make the better choices, the good choices, the more sustainable choices. And therefore it's the most important thing is to have knowledge. You need to know about the impact of your individual choices. It will not stop you from making sometimes the choices which are not that sustainable. The same is for me, this is this famous saying of cognitive dissonance. But anyway, if you have the knowledge, and if you be aware of the impact of your actions and of your choices, you can live a more sustainable life. And there is no plan B, there's no option B, as we have seen in the keynote, we have just one planet, so it's very, very important to question yourself each and every day.
Wow, so we expect you to make the best choices, the conscious choice, and you have to know a lot. It's tough, there's a lot of responsibility on your shoulders, I'd say. The Golden Machine is all about making those good choices the most fun and cool option in fashion. And we try to do that by making 3D printed knitwear, which means, and it will be all personal, so you get to shop and create your own clothes, make them personal, you can wear them virtually, and if you're really, really sure you want them, you can order them with us, and we make them for you, we print them. And in our view, this is the way fashion will look like in a couple of years, and we hope that it will become very normal to shop that way. So it will be a conscious decision to really have something made, but it will be the most fun and the coolest option out there.
So thank you all for those opening ideas. So on this panel, we actually have a large variety of different types of work. So we have some entrepreneurs, Rosanne, Andy, all the way up to corporations like Leslie with the CNA Foundation. So I'd like to begin maybe by asking Rosanne, what do you think, whose responsibility should it be to make living sustainability an achievable goal? Should it be the government, the corporations, or the individual?
Well, I think it's very difficult on an individual level, Because there's so many things to consider. I mean, just living your life and trying to get by socially and getting a job and everything, it's a lot. So I don't want to burden people too much, and that's why I wanted to start a company, because by starting a company I can have an impact. Because I'm not in the government, otherwise I may have gone into politics or something, but business is my thing. And that way I can try to seduce people to make those good choices. So I will take up the responsibility to select yarns that can be reused, for example, or selecting processes that make a very good quality garment that lasts for a long time, for example, and also to create processes for virtual fitting, virtual enjoying garments virtually, like to take a picture of a garment that you don't actually have, but it's in your Instagram, like virtually, so you can see yourself or enjoy the fun side of fashion and consuming lots of different kinds of fashion virtually without actually sacrificing materials and energy and stuff like that. So I want to help people make those sustainable choices. And because it's so difficult on an individual level. And I think ultimately the government should help companies like mine to do that more, and also so that big companies can also adopt those kinds of processes.
Yeah. So similar to how Andy does the workshops for people to learn more about it, you think that you're helping to take on the more individual role to help people have a more easy access.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So another thing that kind of links into this and relates to all the different areas, environmental, fashion, food, everything, is branding is very, very, something that students, especially the youth, are very conscious of these days. So to what extent do you think that maybe these brandings put a barrier on our living sustainably, and how can we change this? Maybe Leslie, you might have some thoughts.
Yeah, branding in terms of people being attracted by brands and buying certain brands, and therefore not asking the harder questions. I think that branding can be our friend because ultimately, as consumers, and I'm also going to respond to your first question as well, because as consumers, it's really hard for us to make the right decisions. You know, if you go into your favorite brand and you want to buy something, you don't have enough information to know whether or not you're making a sustainable choice. Because it's just not there. You don't know how something was made. You don't know what chemicals are in it. You can look for certifications like GOTS. We're talking about GOTS, which is a great organic certification, but still you don't know if child labor was used when that cotton was picked in the field. So we are not empowered to be able to make decisions. And what I would say for brands, we love brands, because brands are the ones that are going to actually make change. It's the companies. And each of us as individuals should be going to brands and asking them, who made my clothes that I love, because I love this brand and I want you to tell me where my clothes came from. And we as consumers should put pressure on the brands to say we need to know more. So I think brands can play a really important part, but we as consumers need to nudge them, because if we don't nudge them, they may still just continue producing fast fashion, because that's what they think we want. But if we are conscious of what it takes to be sustainable, then it's our responsibility to ask them those questions.
So, as you were saying how, or as I was mentioning about how students are into the brands a lot, and you were saying that this can be helpful, another thing is, when it comes to these brands, not even just brands, but just generic things, in food, fashion, again, everywhere, sometimes the lower costing things are of lower quality, and this can be overlooked by the students, because often we don't have access to all the money that we can use, so we'll just go for the cheapest option. And so does living sustainably, and does good resources have to be expensive, or how can this be changed for students? If maybe Andy, you want to know?
Yeah. You know, you are in a great position. You have the choices. You know, for me, it's like, yeah, a lot of people, they don't have access to health system, to education, dignity, basic. So I think everybody deserves fair and good, sustainably produced food. That's a human right, it's the basic, it's dignity. With that comes education, opportunities, opportunity to choose what you want, and education as well. So if you know how to cook, you know maybe McDonald's or Burger King, you know there's a lot of sugar, a lot of fat, maybe not the best to have daily. But if you know plant-based vegetarian food, that's actually yummy, it's healthy, it's full of fibers, etc. What's cheaper, meat or lentils or chickpeas? It's like clear. So it's your decision what you cook and what you eat. And for that you need also the knowledge, the tools to be able to cook, ideally, or to choose where you go to eat. And then it's not more expensive, because if you consume the right way, it's even cheaper. Mm-hmm. If you don't buy a new shirt like every day or once a week, you need the newest brands, the new hypes, the superstars. It's a lot of pressure. You need to consume. The pop stars tell you to consume. But that's, maybe less is more. So consume less, the better quality.
Can I add to that as well? I think, thinking about plastic as well, we are driven by convenience, aren't we? And actually you can save money by being more sustainable, because it takes a bit of organisation and it takes a little bit more preparation perhaps, but I don't buy any plastic bottles anymore. And I think back to even a few years ago, perhaps I'd be out and I'd be thirsty and I'd grab one. It's a couple of pounds or a few euros or whatever it might be. Now I have my reusable bottle and I refill my water for free. So absolutely I'm saving money. Same for living a convenience like picking up food on the go. Again, I can now, if I'm organised, I can prepare my own food, and that's much cheaper than buying something on the go. So also I think some of the plastic-free products, the shampoos and things like that, can appear to be quite expensive. But in my experience, I have a shampoo bar. It's lasted me 4 months. And that's way more than a bottle of ordinary shampoo. So yes, it might be initially a little bit more expensive, but actually it's saving money. So there are definitely ways. Sustainability doesn't have to be the more expensive option.
Yeah. There's maybe one more thing to add, because I think this is very important. Today, we don't pay the real price for the products. We just pay prices for, let's say, for raw materials, for marketing and communication stuff behind it. What we don't have the real cost of the product integrated in the price. And we have to start the discussion about this, and we have to start this discussion quickly, and this is where the governance and the regulators comes into play, because all the things refer to disposal, all the environmental impact, all the impact on climate has to be part of the price. And if we make it part of the price, if we put a price on carbon on each product and each service, then I think the calculation will be a different one. And the more expensive sustainable products of today will be the cheaper products of tomorrow. I'm quite sure. And we have to do this, because then we have real prices and real cost calculation, and also we have big financial opportunities and budget to tackle all these challenges we are facing today.
Yeah, thank you both for those comments. I think they were very relevant as well for us as the youth to hear. So, but regarding that issue, we are hearing this all now from you and some very helpful tips, but of course an event like this doesn't happen every day. So how can we help to encourage the high school students or the youth in general to take more part in living sustainably? So like Rosanne and Leslie both have very different platforms, so how can we maybe use these platforms to, promote more to the students? If either of you want to start off with
we're currently a fashion tech startup, so we don't have our platform online yet, and we are building it. But the way we are organized, we will start higher in the market, so our product will not be cheap right away because of the issues that you mentioned too, because our price is really a price that reflects everything involved in our system, and it makes it a lot more expensive right now than a garment from a big chain. But it's a bit unfair, but yeah, anyway, that's the way it is. So we have to start high up in the market, and people have told me in business courses that that's called the Tesla model, and it's totally fine. So then we will start that way, and we will make sure that we are able to have the budget to build the system, so people in 5 years can also shop in a lower price range in this system. But a nice thing is that every garment that we develop will be developed virtually. So the virtual shopping will be very affordable right from the start. So it's fun to do that. I think there's a real opportunity because a lot of our communication with young people, of course, is done virtually. So by sharing pictures, sharing video, perhaps, all that stuff. And you can do that dressed in a virtual garment. I think that's a really awesome development. It's going on now. Maybe you already know those kinds of platforms where you can buy that stuff. But that's a really nice bonus, I think, from the 3D printing, 3D printed knitwear fashion movement. And when you actually want to order something to really wear, then it will be a conscious decision. Maybe you've tried several varieties already. So that way I think the virtual fashion field and the actual use of energy and materials are two things that can be more separate in the future and can both really add to the sustainable lifestyle of people.
Yeah. And just to build on that, because we're coming from a different perspective, as a foundation, we're trying to fund initiatives that not only raise awareness about the sustainability of fashion or lack thereof, but also help folks like you make the right decisions. And there's two things specifically that we funded that could be of interest. One is in Amsterdam, which Rosanne was part of. We set up a collaborative innovation platform that includes a museum. So if you guys ever go to Amsterdam, go to the museum. You can learn about sustainable fashion, and it's very action-oriented. It actually asks you, what are you going to do for a more sustainable life when it comes to your clothes? So that's something that's there. It's free. You have to get to Amsterdam, but once you get there, it's free to get in. The second. Sorry?
By train.
Yeah, by train. Don't fly. And the second thing that we fund is Fashion Revolution, and I made reference to the Who Made My Clothes hashtag, but this was started when the Rana Plaza disaster happened in Bangladesh. How many of you have heard of the Rana Plaza disaster? Are you aware of that? Okay, it was in 2013, so it may have faded from memory, but it was the worst industrial accident in this industry ever. It killed about 1,200 people, and it should never have happened. So these things are still happening, and Fashion Revolution is really a global movement asking all of us as consumers to ask our brands, where did my clothes come from? You know, and it's a pro-brand movement. This is not a brand you need to shape up or shape out, but this is, we love fashion, we love clothes, but we want to go to our favorite brands and ask them to have more transparency on their supply chains. So please go to Fashion Revolution's website, sign up, be part of the movement, and in April, which is the anniversary of Rana Plaza, there will be a number of events here in Switzerland and in the world that you can take part in.
That's great. Yeah, that would be really helpful, I think, for students to look into. And if you want to learn more about it later, you can maybe try to see in the Connection Center or something like this. But for now, I think a great way to close off this panel would be maybe just asking how you think we can move forward and some tips you may have for the students on how to live more sustainably. So we can start with anybody who wants. It's open to any of you.
I can start. I have my bag here. So it's moving away from the fashion really, but you know, it's just an organization, you know, and it really is about being organized, you know, making very small, in terms of the plastic anyway, making very small changes to your habits and your routines that really help you. So I have my reusable bag. my reusable water bottle, my reusable coffee cup, and you know, as students, you guys are probably going to be thinking about going traveling at some point, and you know, as you go traveling, you will be on the go, and you will come across plastic being thrown at you from every angle. And even if you say, I don't want a plastic straw, they will give you one. So it's just about being determined and being organized. So wherever I go, I take with me my own little bamboo cutlery set, my own little bamboo straw. I have my bamboo toothbrush. It doesn't live in here all the time because this is actually my toothbrush. And then, as I said before, you know, it's thinking about the cosmetics and stuff, the little changes that you can make. So I get very upset by everything coming in plastic. I don't shop anymore in the supermarkets. I go to the local markets. You know, and then obviously I take my reusable bag. I've switched over from shampoos and things to the bars, or another alternative is you can get yourself the glass bottles, and you can get really 5 litres of shampoo at once, you know, and then perhaps you can, it does still come in a great big plastic tub, but you know, you could use that for something else. And I think that's the other thing, it's very linked to innovation. And we spoke a little bit about innovation before, and you know, new technologies, and you guys really are the future. You are the designers, you are the innovators, and it's part of what the Whale Company is doing is taking plastic, shredding it, extruding it into a filament that can then be used in 3D printing. So then the world is your oyster. You can design anything you like and print it out of plastic that perhaps has been collected from the ocean. Because you know, this is a very valuable resource. And we need to turn it into something else. So it's not just about the reusables, it's about innovative ideas for turning a waste into something useful.
Yeah.
And I suppose implementing that into your life, you know, there are many opportunities ahead to do that. So, you know, it's really up to you guys.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I think that's a great note to actually end this on for us. So thank you everybody for those fascinating contributions. I'd now like to entertain a 2-minute break in which you guys will have some time to generate some questions to ask the panelists. So you can talk to your neighbors, but please stay in your seats. And you can use the...
One more, but I think the important thing. So before talking about this sustainable lifestyle, don't forget the fun part of it. Because today it's no longer that these living a sustainable life is kind of this green, creepy, no fun at all thing. You heard about it. You can design your own clothes, do it on Instagram, be your own designer. How cool is that? So there are many, many great innovative ideas out there. It's just so cool, and maybe if you just dive into it, look for the opportunities, and you find the more sustainable opportunities, most of the time they are the more relaxing, the more fun opportunities. So be positive on that, and then you have your impact and talk about it. Say, hey, living a sustainable life is a pretty cool, pretty amazing, pretty funny thing.
Yeah. That's for sure. So if that can also help some of your questions maybe, we can use the hashtag on the screen, hashtag YFS2019, and you can post them to Twitter. We'll also have just questions open to the floor with someone coming around with mics to answer any questions as well. So we can now have the 2-minute break. So now we will have our question and answer session. If you have a question open to the floor, you can raise your hand, but remember to stand, give your name, and please make it clear who your question is for. So we can now have any questions. If you have any, raise your hand.
Hi, my name is Meer, and this question is directed to Carolyn. I've been shopping at the market and thrift shop for as long as I can remember, And would that be sustainable in the long run, or not really? Or would you have to go to an actual place which says that they're a sustainable clothing line, for example?
So, shopping for, when you say you've been shopping at markets, shopping for what exactly? For food or for clothes? Yeah. Okay, so, wow, so the fashion area is perhaps not my best area, but I think there's information out there, and I think it's about being aware of perhaps who are the brands who have got more sustainable methods. And, you know, for example, I'm working alongside Patagonia at the moment. You guys all live in the mountains. I'm sure you all ski. I'm sure you all heard about Patagonia. They give 1% to the planet, and they support a lot of environmental projects. So shopping somewhere like that, then you know you're making a conscious decision to purchase more sustainably. There are definitely some brands that are better than others, and I suppose it's just about doing your research. The other thing is buy better quality stuff that's going to last you longer. You don't necessarily need to follow every fashion trend and buy fast fashion, products that are cheap and that last, maybe one season and then get thrown away. It's about looking longer term and making those more responsible choices. But I need to pass on to the...
Yeah. And one thing I would caution you, usually markets are selling pretty cheap stuff that's not branded. And to your question about the brand piece is pretty important because brands are reputation sensitive. And so if you actually look at who's doing the most in sustainability and fashion, it actually is some brands, not all, but the brands, because they are looking at their risk and their reputation. Where I worry is the unbranded stuff that maybe comes from a country far away and it's cheap as chips. That you would want to ask, where does this come from and who made it? And to your point, it's better sometimes to pay a little bit more for a higher quality product that you know is going to last longer.
You could also do
just there like workshops to repair clothes. I attended one. I was sewing my clothes together instead of like repairing. It's also fun. Repair, design.
And finally, you can rent some stuff. We talked about going for a skiing trip or going for an outdoor trip, so it doesn't make much sense buying new gear for 600 Swiss francs that you use one time a year. So there are many brands like Patagonia, I think, VD does the same. You can rent your gear. It's absolutely fine, pretty well serviced. You don't have it then later in your cardboard. Perfect.
So I think we can have another question from the audience if there's any more.
Hi, my name is Sophia, and I have a question about food. So when I go to the supermarket, a lot of the organic produce in Switzerland is wrapped up in plastic, and the conventional isn't. So I was wondering, how do you make that choice about what's more sustainable?
That's back to me again. Well, maybe don't go to the supermarket. It's a really, really hard one. Yes. It's the organic versus the plastic. We need to put more pressure on to the government to put the bans in place. Certainly I know in the EU, it was just before Christmas, they have announced that they are banning certain plastics, and it's going to come into effect by 2021. And certainly some of the packaging needs to be made out of 30% recycled materials. It's a tough one. If you can go to markets where they don't put stuff in plastic, that's going to be better. It also might be more locally sourced. But if you have to buy stuff in the plastic, just make sure you recycle it, or try to avoid plastic that cannot be recycled. So again, it's like with all of this, it's a conscious choice, and you have to make these decisions, and they are tough decisions.
And actually, regarding the supermarket aspect of it, there's a question on Twitter from Emily saying, is it important to try and convince the government to include carbon and other items that aren't sustaining our environment in our price as the consumer from the supermarket. So, if you want
to keep it short and simple, yes, it's absolutely important, and as we said before, so I think the power comes from both sides. So it has to come from the governments and the regulators, but they only do it if the people, if you and me, if we ask them to do this, and if we claim for this, and this is so important to say, hey, talk about real prices, make it part of the product price. So yeah, of course, let's try to do everything, and don't forget, we are living here in a great country, in a perfect situation. So we have the personal freedom, we have the choices, yeah, and we also have the freedom sometimes to make the worst decisions, of course, but we can have an influence. We can have an influence on policy. It's not people far away sitting on the top and do the decisions for us. That's us. That's us. And we have some people we send to the parliament, but also these people have to go back to us each, at least every 4 years, but more or less in a short period of time. So we have the power in our hands, and we have to use this democratic power, of course.
Yeah, I think that was a very good question, actually, to Emily who sent it. So if we have any more questions from the audience.
I have a question about plastic. So I try my best not to buy plastic, but obviously there's some things that I have, like for example, this pen, it came with refills to try and reduce it, but I still have to dispose of the refills somehow. What would you suggest is the least harmful way of disposing plastic? You said that maybe I could donate it, or
well, there's, I think, so if this plastic that can't be recycled, okay, there's a few things that you can do. I don't know if you've heard of eco-bricks. This is one great way of getting you rid of the little bits of plastic that you collect. And what you can do is you can take a plastic bottle, and for all those bits that can't be recycled, you can stuff it into this bottle and jam it full. And it becomes a brick. It becomes rock hard, and it becomes a brick. And that brick can then be used for just about anything. You can construct tables, furniture, houses. I know there's a project that some of you may have got involved with in Ghana where they've been building, I can't quite remember, some sort of tank or water tanks, was it? Yeah, so that's I think they did it. They built their eco bricks using sand and gravel and things like that. But it's a great way of getting rid of all those little bits of plastic that just you can't avoid. So, and then the other thing, so there are plastic is so complicated because there are so many different types of plastic. But some of those types of plastic you can actually melt down and turn into something else, or shred and then melt. And that's part of the project that the Whale Company is now developing, which would enable you with those, those little cartridges to shred them, turn them into this filament, and then, print something, whatever you want. So we're developing a mini recycle unit that, actually could be available to individuals, to schools, to communities in the future. And I think that's another thing, I've said it before, but there is opportunity right now for innovation and for new businesses and sustainable, products moving forward. Mm-hmm. So it's actually quite an interesting and exciting time for you guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, thank you for the answer. We have another question over here we can take. So my name is Marion, and this question goes to Ms. Meer. We just went on your website and we wanted to see how we can print something. And we didn't really find it. We just found your website and what's your company for, and we just wanted to ask you if, how much one clothes
does cost, and because it should be affordable for our generation, I guess, because this is a youth forum, so yeah. And these qualitative clothing brands are mostly really expensive. Yeah. So we just wanted to ask you how this works.
Yeah, great. Yeah, we are a bit under the radar right now, so there's not a lot of information on our website right now. That's correct. We are making the processes, the technical processes at the back end, and we hope to launch, to really properly launch in the fall of 2019. So then we will see much more. You will see the entire product, which for us it's a digital product, like a digital garment. And the code that operates the machine to make it an actual garment, but the code is recalculated based on the body measurements and the preferences of the final end user. So that's how it works. And the machines they exist. So we did not build the machines, we just use them. So that's why we call it the girl and the machine. So it's all about people and machines working together to create a sustainable fashion future. And the machines, they are able to, like, it's a form of 3D knitting machines we use as 3D printers to make individual garments. So it's a yarn that goes all the way around. The one that I'm wearing is made like that. So the yarn goes round, 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 and it's knitted layer by layer to make an entire garment without cutting and sewing. So that's how it works. And the prices, they are still high, and that's also the reason that I came up with this idea 6 years ago, and it took me such a long time to get over the fact that I could not immediately sell it for the final price of, for example, 75 euros or something. I think that would be, for a merino sweater, a high quality, long lasting sweater, that would be a good price, I think. And I was unable to calculate the price that low because it's just, we are still small, we have a lot of R&D to finance, and it's impossible. So after a while I've learned that it's okay for us as a small innovative company to start in the higher regions of fashion, where people can afford, for example, to buy a merino sweater for 150 euros or 200 euros, something in that area. And that we can have them as our first customers, and that we can build our technology and then drop the price later on. So that's the way we would like to try and really make an impact in the fashion industry in the long run.
And if the cost of carbon gets put into clothing, you guys will be cheaper because you're not shipping clothing all over the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, making clothes on demand, so that also counts for tailoring. For example, if you have a tailored suit made locally, it saves 45% on CO2 in the transport phase alone. And so there are many benefits, and also knitting is, I really believe, after seeing what I've seen in the industry and in the trends, that we will be wearing a lot more knitwear in the future. And maybe you don't realize, but your underpants is also knitted. It's a different way of making fabrics than weaving, and knitting, it takes 20 times less energy than weaving. So it will be something of the future, and it will also look different than what you think now. Maybe you think about grandmother's knitting. Also great. I worked in hand knitting with grandmothers for the past 5 years, but it will also be very technical fabrics, for example. And there's lots of great innovation. So you ain't seen nothing yet. That's what I'd say. knitwear rocks.
Thank you for that as well. I now have a question from Twitter that could maybe be directed to Kai, because in Switzerland, of course, we're all very fortunate to be here. But Isabella asks, what do you think about the sustainability in developing countries, and how do you think we can improve their sustainability and maybe make them more aware? Because for us, it's even a challenge. So what about the developing countries?
It's a good one. And this is kind of a hard one. We, for My Climate, we have a lot of experience with this, because maybe some of you know about it. We established climate protection projects, and these climate protection projects, which saving CO2 emissions, are happening in these development or emerging countries. So And it's kind of an eye-opener. So if you travel, I think many of you did this, if you travel to East Asia or if you travel to Africa, you go there and you think, oh my God, this is unbelievable. There's so much waste, and the air in the city, it's hurt, and you think, oh my God, these are the real sinners. So they are not at all environmental conscious, and hey, they are to blame. The thing is, this is absolutely not true. So if you break it down on an individual level, even on the country level, so except of China, for instance, but this is also connected to us because they're producing for us. So if you break it down on an individual level, their CO2 footprint is very, very low within the boundaries where it should be, and our is so incredibly high. So this, I think, we have the duty, the absolutely duty to help, or help is not the correct term, to support these countries to develop and develop in a more sustainable way. And yes, that means we have to give financial support. Of course we do, and this is what is part of the Paris Agreement, the Paris Climate Accord. This is also the establishment of the Green Climate Fund, which means $100 billion per year. $100 billion per year goes to the developing countries for a more sustainable development. They don't have to follow on the mistakes we did. That wouldn't make any sense at all. But right now, these countries suffer the most from the development of climate change. They suffer the most. But they are not to blame, so we are to blame. So we, with our technologies, with the knowledge and the knowledge of the mistakes we made for the last century, I think it's absolutely our duty to help for a more sustainable support, but without the other mistakes we did centuries ago, without coming from the Western countries and say, hey, you have to. That's now it's your it's called your task to save the world. No, it's not. You have to convince. You have to help. Mm-hmm. It has to be a win situation for these countries first. At the end, it will turn out in a win-win situation for all of us. But that is the thing. So, and yeah, it's not a bad idea for doing this, because these are also emerging markets and very, very interesting for us if we want to sustain our lifestyle, not only a sustainable lifestyle or economic lifestyle as well. It is for us a very, very good opportunity to help them to grow, but grow in a greener and more sustainable way.
Yeah. Andy, do you have something to add?
From my point of view, it's like, yeah, we knew the system changed. Our system is collapsing. That's a fact. We cannot produce more. We have to reduce food waste, in my part. We have to find a new system. There's enough food for everybody. There's enough of all for everybody. But it's just not in the right place. So the system is on the edge and it doesn't work anymore. Then we know. There are also a lot of new systems coming up, new technologies, etc., etc. And it doesn't help just to pump a lot of money somewhere. For example, we sell, or like Europe sells a lot of chicken bones and stuff to Africa. It's completely destroying the local markets there, because we can make money out of our chicken leftovers and they make a soup out of it. But yeah, with that we destroyed local markets, and there we have to install new systems that we can empower them, give them dignity to develop their own lifestyle, or like the basic levels again. So it's about you and us to really live new systems, support new systems. Even they're maybe a bit more expensive right now, but in the end they will be cheaper. And as I said in the beginning with the lemon is squeezed out, so we have to let the lemon grow a bit again, and then there's enough for everybody. So it's about system change, not a repair and fixing.
Thank you both for those comments. Those were both very insightful answers. I think we can go again to the audience if there's any more questions still. There's some over here.
Hi, I'm Julia, and I have a question for Mr. Handke. So, I think a lot of us have been made aware of the fact that the meat industry has a massive destructive impact on the environment. My family tries to reduce the meat we consume. How does becoming vegetarian contribute to sustainable living? And how big of an impact can a vegetarian diet have?
Also, tough question. I eat meat, so I'm not completely on the vegetarian side. Because meat is kind of our past and story, and it belongs to history, so it's kind of home where you come from, so it's a big part. But what we know that we consume way too much meat, and in completely wrong way. So from the physical point, once a week would be the animal proteins would be enough. The fish could be meat. So it's also again how we consume, and dairy can reduce a lot. So, but it's for sure much easier just to put a steak in the pan, fry it quickly, and then it's ready. Plant-based cooking needs more time, needs more knowledge, and yeah, it's the same yummy. You can do so much things with, because in the high-end gastronomy, vegetables and lentils, all these things are the new hype. So in the high-end gastronomy, the trained leaders of the 5-star, 3-star Michelin gastronomy, they give the impulse and creativity back to the industry. And now it's really shifting away from the meat, because it's not so cool anymore to eat meat. Because if you like meat, then me personally, I reduce my meat consumption to like once a week. And then I buy a big piece of meat from a farmer I know, and then I can reduce a lot of CO2, etc. if you buy local and just less. And this nose to tail thinking as well. If you buy an entire chicken, not just the best part. A chicken, you can do so many things of it. You can do a broth in the end, like the bones, and that's still yummy. And with this broth, you do another soup, etc. So it's also just awareness and how you consume, and then you can reduce a lot.
I think unfortunately we're running out of time now, but thank you to all of you for the questions. They were very informative. And thank you, please join me in thanking our panelists once again for all of their contributions.